Good evening. All right. This Christopher Watts case has been bothering me for quite a while now, and I just could not shake it. I was not sure why. I just felt like there's just something more here that like we're missing. And even with NK, just there's just something deeper here. And truly, I do know that they were into some dark stuff. And I truly believe that NK has a spirit called Jezebel. And there was a actual Queen Jezebel in the Bible in Kings. Great about it. Had a husband named Ahab. And usually the spirit of Jezebel does take an Ahab to operate. Chris Watts seemed like a likely character. He is a typical Ahab type personality. Um, in the biblical reference, Ahab was very easily manipulated. He did not have much of a spine. He did anything Jezebel told him to do, anything down to murder. Um, Basically, Ahab and Chris Watts have a very, very similar makeup. Okay. To the point of even him turning from worshiping his own, his God, the one true God, um, and he started worshiping the false idol of Baal, um, and which his wife was a prophetess of Baal, and that goes deep. And actually, it gets into a little bit of this stuff that I was talking about earlier with these occult practices and things like that, that I do believe that she maybe had a part of and contributed to the way she was and her mental state. And then Chris Watts and his mental state. And if you're on here, you're more than welcome to jump on here and say, hey, so I'll know who's on here watching, because all I can see is who's on here, the number, but I can't like see your name or anything. So if you're on here, just jump on there and say, hey, and it'll say who you are. Um, and if you're not from before, then just kind of tell me where you're from. I'm going to tell you about the Jezebel spirit. All right. And first of all, I'm just going to explain what it is, okay? I'm not going to attribute it yet with each thing with her, but I will go to that. All right. So Jezebel is a seducing spirit. It is a nasty, evil, seductive enemy of God. This spirit, excuse me, is a master of setting destruction and orchestrating that the plan happens for innocent souls. It is a foul spirit responsible for stealing and breaking up many marriages, even friendships. Because it's a very nasty, nasty spirit. But Jezebel is responsible for getting many people to set up cold-blooded murders and suicides. So you'll see suicides or murders around these people. They lie very convincingly. A lot of times, convincingly, like sometimes not, but they lie always. They never give credit or show gratitude. They use people to accomplish their agenda. And they are very domineering and controlling of others. And a lot of times they use passion or sex to achieve their manipulative plans. Um, they refuse to admit any wrongdoing, always has to be the center of attention, try to infect and contaminate other persons. Um, I kind of like to call this a spiritually transmitted disease. I know that's crazy, but it's true because it has to do with soul ties. Soul ties are very real, and the spirit world is very real. And I have no doubt there are things happening at that house over there that are a little bit strange. And even studying this stuff, I mean, there's some strange stuff that goes on. And honestly, I think you do need to be a Christian and pretty tightly wound to be able to get deep into this stuff and not let it like mess with your head. If y'all are on here, give me a hey, tell me where you are, because I see that there are people on here, but I don't see any comments or anything. So if you have any questions or anything, just ask. I'll be happy to answer them. Um, this person usually will uh usually not repent of anything wrong because they don't see any wrongdoing in themselves. They're very prideful, they're very demanding and manipulative. Like I said, they're ruthless, very judgmental. Most don't even know though that they have this spirit. Now some do, but many don't. They make you weaker and weaker in a way by they suck off your energy. That's why I said a Jezebel and an Ahab usually go well together because an Ahab is a weaker vessel, and the Jezebel seeks that out in people to feed off of them. Okay. Um, they make you weaker and try to break your spirit. They um weasel their way into your life and start to dominate it. I think that's obvious. They break you down by talking down to you or screaming or yelling at you. All right. Don't you think that's interesting that she, in fact, did that one night? Was it, I think it was on excuse me, no, on July the 4th, when he went home because his wife called him many times and he said he had to go. And I think she realized right then that he was still at that point committed to his wife and he did not want her to find out. And I think that's why she had that breakdown and sent him a video and like went no on him. So anyway, I'm trying not to impose my judgment here or my view here. Um and let's see. If they cannot make you weak enough to control you, then they'll play the victim role. They will create a dramatic experience and make stuff up to try to make the other person like trust them or draw them in, or they'll oftentimes try to find out first about the other person's life and then they'll make up a similar life to make that person feel an instant connection or something. It's a weird thing. It's almost like a magnet and two magnets that just like gravitate and pull towards each other. This Ahab and this Jezebel type spirit. Um, it's it works together. Um, they will dominate by making you feel sorry for them in a way. They will play games and then they have you. And once they have you, you're really messed up. It's hard to get away. Um, the evil spirit digs its claws in you and holds on very tightly. I think that's obvious because he is still protecting her from jail. And it says it takes over your life, your thoughts. Again, destroys a person or their life. Check. Self-esteem and reputation problems. So they really have low self-esteem, but they seem like they have a lot of self-esteem. They try to make you think that, but they don't. They will destroy you. Um, and they will actually turn things around to make their self look like the good guy. And kind of the way in the police interview, a lot of times she kind of threw him under the bus and would throw even the victims under the bus, but never take any kind of responsibility herself. Um, if they stay with you, they either feed off of you, and if they can't feed off you, they will destroy you. And I will say that they will feed off that supply as long as they can, and they suck the joy right out of you. That feeds their spirit. Um, Once it gets to that level, it becomes dangerous. I think that that happened around. I'm gonna look at my dates here. Um, Personally, I kind of believe that really, really happened right before he left for North Carolina. I'm looking for the date for that. Um, but I'm thinking like the way that she manipulated him by saying that he needed to work on his marriage. I'm sure she said it more like, why don't you just go work on your marriage? That kind of stuff. Smart alecky like. Um, she did not want him to work on his marriage one bit. And I can tell you right now that it seems to me, but not just myself, but also if you look at Armchair Detective at all, and I have looked at his stuff, and he has a lot of accurate information, I can tell you, because some of this stuff, if you look back on my videos before he busted out all that stuff, there are hints here and there, but I just couldn't tie it all together. And I give him a round of applause because he did. He put a lot of those pieces together, even down to the date. Because I had already been looking at Charles Manson and August 9th, with that situation, also a pregnant woman, also a sacrifice. You can look at that another time with me, or you can look at it. I left it on my thing for another time. You can look at that because they're like almost right at 50 years apart, and I don't know. It's just kind of like cycles. It's just weird. Um, but there's a thing called The Wedding of the Beast and the Bride. I think that's the name of it. But it has to do with actually um, practicing a particular religion called Thelema, which Crowley uh, came up with when he was in Italy and lived in an abbey on the island of Thelema. And Mussolini, and listen, you're bad if Mussolini throws you out of his country, and that's what happened. He got thrown out of the country. But that's where this particular books and whatever he created, and it has to do with sex magic, and you can look that up on your own time. But it is really disgusting. Anyway, and people that say they're into spiritualism or New Age or Wicca or whatever, a lot of times they lean heavily back into these practices. And, you know, magic, I'm just going to tell you, there is a such thing as black magic. Magic is real. And if people are not truly like full of the Holy Spirit, then they are susceptible to that kind of stuff. Look all over Africa. People will tell you that people can put curses on you and your family. There are generational curses. Look it up. They're in the Bible. I mean, and you'll notice it'll go from family to family as like teenage pregnancy or alcoholism or addiction or just all kind of things you can see that they run through families. So anyway, um, she has all those attributes to me. And I don't know what you guys think, but I definitely believe that she definitely is Jezebel. And I believe that there was a soul tie made. She got her hooks in him. And listen, he's just as much to blame because the truth is he started lusting with his eye. And what he started lusting with his eye came to fruition. He started acting on it. And by meeting her and all this kind of stuff. And then if I'm not mistaken, and if anybody knows better, they can correct me, please. But Shannan made a video about her being pregnant on um, June the 11th. And I need to look back, but wasn't it June the 12th that her and Chris corresponded back and forth, and she said something about how much she appreciated his honesty, and he talked about how honest he was and all that kind of stuff. If anybody on here knows if that is the date, if they can weigh in, that would be great, because to me that says something. That says to me that she knew very well he was married, knew very well that he had 2 kids and one on the way, because she first looked up Shannan on September the 1st, 2017. So that's a full year, right at almost, before these murders happened. And that's another thing I'm going to get at about this particular spirit. Um, I'm seeing like single white female type stuff here, literally. Like she got, obviously she saw Shanann somehow with her Thrive or whatever her videos were. I'm not sure. And I don't know if she saw Chris on there, or, I don't even know when she started working at that Anadarko place, if she even started working there because she already knew about this family and got a job there because of that, or if she just worked with him and had seen him before and then, like, found out if he's married and looked up his wife to see their life or whatever. I don't know, but there's some reason that she looked her up. Um, and if it is to do with that other ceremony that Armchair Detective talked about, like he said, they have to prepare for this stuff for a year. So that could be, I don't know. And I'm just going to leave that up to you to, because these are all just theories. Like, none of this stuff is factual, but there are a lot of facts to back up these things. I'll say that. Um, uh, The Jezebel was a prophetess of Baal. Like I said, her name is Phoenician for unhusband. Even if she is married or has a husband, she is the boss. Her spirit is rebellious, self-loving, and devoid of empathy. Jezebel loves what God hates and hates what God loves. Her spirit seeks to use, manipulate, and destroy lives. So you need to be able to discern and pray against this demonic spirit. Like, what if Shannan and Chris went to church and he read his Bible before he got incarcerated, not after? And he would have been um, more spiritually discerning to know that he could spot this and maybe could have headed this off, seriously, and not fallen for this trap, because that's exactly what it is, the honey trap. And we all know that sex is a very, very powerful tool. In fact, it's the most powerful tool, I believe. The most powerful thing is sex. And that is why they use sex magic in that particular religion. They just don't use it for the right ways and for the right things a lot of times. And none of it's good. None of it's Christian. And you should stay away from it. It is not, nothing good is going to come of it, as you see in this case. Um, and if you have a, a run-in with anybody with these particular issues, I would tell you to immediately cut ties with them, whether it just be a friend, an associate, or a partner. If you happen to be married to them, I would ask you to go to a church that believes in deliverance and ask to get help, because your life is going to be hell otherwise. And I'm just going to tell you that. Okay, now I'm going to break down this just a little bit. I know this is maybe a little long, I know, for some people, but it is very interesting and it's very true. So I think that people do need to pay attention to this and look this up on your own time as well. All right. Okay. Like I said, seeks out other individuals they feel are either weaker or, a weaker vessel to control or influence or dominate. Now, NK definitely took the initiative with Chris. He he said that was one of the things that attracted him was that she was the pursuer and not the other way around that he felt like sometimes with his wife. Um, and his parents' relationship seemed to be a little bit the same way. I'm not sure, and I'm not going to say for sure on that, but just from what I've seen a little bit, it just does seem to be that his father is more of an Ahab type spirit, and his mother is more of a Jezebel type narcissistic kind of spirit. I don't know. But anyway, I do think that she definitely saw him as the weaker vessel. I think she saw that Shannan was a strong woman. I think that she fixated on that lifestyle and wanted Shannan's life much like the movie Single White Female, except she didn't befriend Shanann necessarily. She just went straight for her husband. So, she coveted her husband, is what she did, until she had him. And it cost, unfortunately, Shanann her life and the life of her children. That's how nasty this spirit is. And it's very real. And I've known people in my own life who have had them, and it's very obvious once you know how to spot it out. Um, has unnatural sense of self-importance. Now, this is interesting because um, all she talked about to those detectives are how this affected her. How it affected her dad, how this was unfair to her. Wow. I mean, it's unfair to her, really? I mean, you go and get yourself involved with a man that has a pregnant wife and two children, and he ends up killing his family, and this affects you, and you want to go get your life back on track and all this kind of stuff. No empathy for, the wife and the children at all, and how, horrible it is what they went through, or the empathy for, Shanann's parents who lost not only their daughter, but their 3 grandchildren. I mean, come on. No empathy. 0. None. Even when she says, "How could he do that to his children? They're so little." I mean, it's that fake whiny voice again. She seems to have some kind of a I think I mean, listen, I did go to school for psychology. I did not finish, I'm gonna say that, but I did go to school. I started in high school and took college credits in high school, and I went to college. So I know a little bit of what I'm talking about with some of the also, I'm in the deliverance ministry, so that's how I know about the spiritual side. But on the psychological side of this, people call this like a narcissistic personality disorder. And that's what they would call it in the professional field, possibly with DID traits. They used to call it MPD, but dissociative disorder. When you hear her that giggle, that little giggle, that he, I mean, I can't even do it because she literally sounds like a child giggling, like it's another whole person almost. So and she seems to go in and out of personalities a lot depending on who she's talking to, the subject she's talking about. If you look at her interviews or listen to her interviews, how many different personalities can you count? I mean, I can count many. She switches very fast, and you'll see it the most when she's talking to men and a woman walks in the room. You will see her affect completely change. And um, they usually have an unnatural um, sense of self importance. And like I said, you know, no, no care at all um, for that family, and it was important to her that she gets her phone situated. It's important that she gets her job. She's worried about her job, her life, you know, how this is going to affect her. Um, she can't do anything now. She just has the 4 walls, and Just, just everything's about herself. Okay, requires excessive admiration and attention. Now, I think this is an obvious one. It was very obvious that from the time that she bumped into him in that office, um, which was not a coincidence, I don't believe, in my opinion. I believe that's when she started her mission, let's say, to conquer. But she turned the dial basically from 0 to 10 on July 4th, like I said, whenever he left because his wife was calling, she flipped out. And I think that's when she sent that video when he said he had to talk her off the ledge a little bit. Um, you know, that's a big, huge red flag. Um, Lack self-control, unable to control their emotional outburst, unconcerned with affecting others. Well, MK did not care that he was married or had kids, so she definitely was unconcerned with affecting others with her actions. Um, Also, um, now I'm not blaming all this just on her because he was a big part of this. I'm just saying that he has an Ahab spirit, she has a Jezebel spirit, um, type personalities. And this is where is like the tornado meets the hurricane, and bam, you have an explosion literally. And I think that America Horror Story thing coming on right when he was looking at that TV that day was no coincidence either. So, like I said, she only cared about what she wanted. I think she literally wanted to be Shannan or like her. I think she was jealous of her. Like I said, she searched for her for the first time on September the 1st, 2017. That's almost a year in advance of the murders. Why did she do that? Like, why? What would make her do that? Even when they asked Chris that, like, he didn't even know that. He said, I don't know, maybe it's the thrive. And it could have been. But that made, that could have been when her obsession started with being jealous and wanting that life, wanting a family. Because she told him in that letter that she wrote him after she said, I thank you for your honesty. The one that I think that he told her everything in about everything, including the fact that his wife was pregnant. I need to look back at the date, but I'm pretty sure. Um, but that she wanted to have what he has with his family, with his beautiful wife and his girls. Like, so she admitted that she coveted that family, that home life, the kids, I'm not saying because I think she lived her life very differently, but I think a part of her coveted that. Um, at least she just wanted to take it away from Shanann because honestly, like I said, I think that it started with her. I think it started with jealousy for her life, and it ended up where it ended up. And so she searched for her. And then, what made her obsess on this family, what made her obsess on this particular man? I mean, he's okay looking, but he's not like, whoa. I mean, I'm sure that there are other single guys around this particular woman that she could have gone out with instead of honing in on a married man, like I said, researching them. Um, and knew full well he was married. And went and did all this anyway, went to his house, everything. Um, she talks with disdain anytime that she talks about Shanann. She talks with disdain anytime that she talks about the kids. Um, She just cannot muster up real emotions when it comes to the kids. She just can't do it. Um, oh, and, the way that she just was so nonchalant about pawning the ring, the wedding ring, like, that day when they were supposedly still looking for Shannan. Like, okay, if I somehow got wrapped up or tangled up in some kind of a married man's life, okay, and I literally okay, just going off of what she's saying, and, she's saying, of course, she only erased some of those text messages because she was so mad at him. Well, see, if she was really mad at him, wouldn't you think that she would text him a bunch of text messages, probably cussing him out, telling him, "I can't believe, that your wife was pregnant. I can't believe that, you played me for a fool," all these kind of things. Like, not just erasing just certain things, picking and choosing. And they were still talking, she admitted, even that night when the wife was missing, that night when she said he looked like he was laying in a bed, and the TV was on or something, but she wasn't mad at him to talk to him. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? This doesn't even, like, make sense or add up. And, um, she definitely had some, self-control issues when it comes to that because she should have controlled herself as he should have controlled himself because he was the one that was married, so he was the one that broke the true wedding vows. But listen, I mean, he literally was like a sitting duck on a pond surrounded by 100 hunters, it seems like, with him just sitting there waiting because I'm just telling you that people that are like this and they have their mind set on something, literally, I mean, there's usually some kind of confrontation. I mean, it doesn't always end in death, thank God, but either the wife finds out and confronts the mistress or, something happens and the person is confronted, and of course, they admit no wrongdoing. They huff off like it's the other person's fault. They play the victim, and then they never talk to you again. And that's the best you can hope for, that they just cut you out of their lives. But truthfully, they never really do that because secretly they will continue to, when they're bored at times, believe me, if you have made an enemy out of a person with this type spirit, they will not relent many times, and it's a hard battle. So just pray you don't get very involved in a relationship, a friendship, a relationship romantically, or anything with somebody like this because it will ruin your life. It will. It has many people's life. And I've had friends that I've had to cut out of my life that are like this. I mean, that are even controlling and jealous in a friendship. I mean, much less a relationship. I mean, so I can imagine what they'd be like in that. So, um, anyway, these people fantasize about having unlimited fame, admiration, beauty, power, success, brilliance. Um, well, think about that. To me, Shanann was all those things. Like whenever I look at her videos and stuff, I think that she had fame. I mean, with what she was doing at least. And I think that's possibly how that girl stumbled upon her. Um, she had admiration. It seems like she had a lot of people that did admire her, like Get Up and Go, and her attitude when it came to her children, and her attitude when it came to her family, and the fact that she was sick and that she still just tried to press on. And she also was an encourager of other people' beauty. Well, she was a beautiful woman, and it seems like that she was beautiful inside and out. Now, I'm not saying this person's perfect, and a lot of times people idealize people when they're dead. I mean, I see that she had a little bit of a controlling issue herself, you know, um, and that she liked things just so, and that she was OCD and all this kind of stuff. But listen, all of us have our shortcomings. but she was not an evil person, like, in her heart. She was not black-hearted like the NK person that I'm speaking of. Like, there's a it's a different if somebody's heart is, like, bent on evil. But, Shanann, to me, like, she seemed to be a sweethearted person and a genuine person, like, I'm not saying that she didn't try to put on airs or keep up with the Joneses or whatever. A lot of people do a lot of those things. Those are just kind of natural worldly things that people go through, especially when you're young. And they were young, they were in their mid 30s. That's young, believe me. The older you get, the more you'll realize that. Um, but I think that she was successful. She did have a form of power because she was very powerful in the business that she was in. I mean, she was a go-getter. I mean, she was a hustler there. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And I think it's because she believed in that stuff. I mean, obviously it helped her. And if you can find something you like to do, you can't help but succeed at it. She did have a brilliance about her. She seemed to have just a light-hearted, personality. Now, listen, I know she was on the camera for people. I know she was putting her best foot forward. I'm sure that her and Chris, probably had harsh words from time to time. And I'm sure that she had her bad days just like we all do. I'm not saying that the woman was perfect. I'm just saying what I've seen, that I think that some of the things, that and also the way her friends talked about her. I mean, you just that friend that came the next day was so relentless that knew something wasn't right. I mean, that has to say something when she has friends like that. Like I said, okay, going back to the selfishness, going back to the lack of empathy thing, her friend Charlotte, um, her dad died. Okay. So she actually like freaked out. This is according to NK in her interview at the police station. So she freaked out and sent a newspaper article or something to her and said, "Does this have anything to do with this?" Because supposedly, now, supposedly, this friend Charlotte knew about Chris and all this stuff. So, what was she asking, like freaking out? What could her friend be freaking out about the newspaper clipping and about her father's death? Like, does that what do those two things have in common is what I'm asking. Okay. First of all, why would Charlotte ask her that? Second of all, this. Why, if that is your best friend, would you be so wrapped up in this situation? You know what I'm saying? If you weren't that into that guy, like she says, she really wasn't into him. She wasn't sure if she'd made her mind up about him or not yet. Like, this is all the stuff she's telling the cops, okay? But yet your best friend, who seems to be your only friend beside the mysterious Jim, you know, um, she needs you, but all you do is obsess about, your own problems, your own issues that you caused. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you get into a relationship with a married person, you have to expect that there's going to be problems that go along with that. And so that was a demise of her own making. Okay, she dug that pit herself and fell into it. And yet her friend's father passes away and she can think of nothing but herself. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say. Like that's messed up. And that just shows the degree or the level, because I do think this, people can be a little bit with this and can have certain traits of this, but then there are just people that are just like, oh my gosh, if there was a picture of Jezebel, that person's face would be beside it. So they show arrogant and haughty behaviors or attitudes. And that shows also in the police, to me, interrogations. And, when the police are asking her about, getting her permission for talking to that gym guy. She's like, well, I'd rather you not do that. Well, I mean, first of all, who are you to tell the police what they can and can't get? whenever there's a woman missing and her children are missing, and especially once they've been found and they're dead, and you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't get that option anymore for privacy when your affair that you've entered into, that you sought out, and the police knew this. If they didn't by this time, soon thereafter, after they got her information that she did not want to give up, and that's where she showed that arrogance and that haughtiness and those behaviors. And even with her dad, when she brought her dad in there, he had that same haughty, arrogant attitude. Like, you're leading her, or you're, trying to act like he was her lawyer or something. Like, what is up with that? Like, most people, that commit, not that commit crimes necessarily, because she at this point, has not committed a crime per se, because we can't prove anything. But technically, like, whenever you're being questioned because of a crime, and everybody, I mean, look, when kids go missing, who's the first person they look at? The parents, you know? So therefore, most parents are like, yes, look at whatever you need to look at, because nothing is more important than finding my kid, And like that, if that woman went missing, you know what I'm saying? And I was having an affair with that man, like, and he called me and he told me, like, if she had nothing to do with this, I'm just saying. And he called me and he told me, oh my gosh, my wife and her kids are missing. The police are here, and her best friend is here, and her car is here, but she's gone, and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Now, right then, I'll just tell you right then, um, I would be like, what? And I would definitely take pause to sit back and watch, because so many times when things like this happen, I mean, you gotta, she if it's true that their relationship was 6 weeks or whatever, I mean, come on. Like, what would she have that she could have made such a bond with somebody in 6 weeks that would be worth throwing her life away and going to prison as an accomplice because you didn't come forward with something, So, um, she acted like she was special and should be receiving special favors or treatment. Like the victimization lady when she came in, how I said she acted different when she came in. Um, and she makes herself the victim when she's actually the perpetrator. I mean, she sought out a married man to have an affair with. Um, And I say that only because she researched this woman a year in advance. Like, listen, I know men can be liars. I know men can tell women, they're not married or they're in a bad relationship and they're in the middle of getting a divorce, and can make them believe it for a small while. Okay. And 6 weeks isn't very long. But how did they? I mean, that relationship was way too intense for 6 weeks, is what I'm saying. There was some other forces at work here. Um, uh, And, like, why wasn't she given a lie detector test? Like, that's just crazy to me. I mean, first of all, we've got, like, him changing his story, like, 3 different times. We've got the lady across the street that gave a witness that there was another vehicle there. It was a different kind of truck. Um, then there's some witnesses that say there was a red car. Um, there's just so many just red flags, you know. Um, That it's just, like, a little bit just weird to me. Why? First of all, is her name even what she says her name is? Like, I've made a video about the name, Nikki, and what that means actually. Like, and I'm not saying that everybody named Nikki that this is means that you're a bad person or anything. I'm just saying that if that name was selected, it could have been selected for a reason because it does have association with the name Satan or the devil. And there's a song named Darling Nikki that talks about when Prince met a girl named Nikki, and he basically signed his name on the dotted line, and then the lights went out. Anyway, that's a metaphor, okay? Also, there was a movie called Little Nicky with Adam Sandler. It was about the devil. Um, and again, the Nicolaitans in the Bible, which God hated, it says. Um, it's just a lot of things that have to do with that name that I just had no clue about until I started looking it up. And another thing is this, okay, who can, honest to God, like just completely fall off the face of the earth and you could find nothing of them barely? Like literally. I mean, nothing. Like, these tabloids, they pay money, big money, okay, for informational people. So, tell me that one person, not one friend from even grade school, high school, middle school, has not stepped forward and been willing to sell a story about anything about her because people are chomping at the bits looking for this person. Even like detectives that have, like clearance to look for people, you know, they are getting like a warning sign saying to stop, not to go any further, almost like she's in the witness protection. That brings me to another thing. Okay, he basically took away any reason that she would need witness protection because the only reason that she would have needed that would be is if she turned state's evidence and she testified against him and they thought that he might retaliate against her somehow or she would be at harm at risk because of testifying, okay? But she did not have to testify against him. It did not go to court like that because he took the blame for it. He said he did it all by himself. Nobody else had any part to do with it. Yada, yada, yada. So he took that away. So with that, took away the need for witness protection program, right? Now, what other reason can you think of other than the fact they could be watching her still and want to see like what she's involved in? I don't know. They could be watching her. Um, Another thing could be that there's ties somehow, with the with municipalities there because, like I said, it's in Colorado and a lot of weird stuff happens there. I mean, look back to the John Benet Ramsey case. Look, there's just so many things that have gone on. And I mean, you can look that up because that's just public, knowledge. It's very easy to see that a lot of weird things happen there. Um, and then oh yeah, there was like another man that's wife went missing and he had the child. The child was okay, but the wife or the girl, no, they weren't married. The girlfriend, she was a girlfriend. Her phone ended up like way somewhere else. And anyway, he got in trouble. I don't know if the mother got in trouble, but then another accomplice. It was around the same time, but it hasn't gotten near the hype this case has gotten. So for some reason, there's just some kind of fascination with this. And I think it is because people feel like that true and full justice has not been served because he's the only one in jail. And, you know, yes, he should be in jail, but he's not the only one. Um, and, even in my state, there's something called alienation of affection. Like, it just seems like that even Shannan's parents could bring a lawsuit against her for that, for alienation of affection on her daughter's behalf, because that led to the demise of her marriage and thus led to the death of her daughter. It seems like a good lawyer could really take a hold of that and do something with it if somebody could find her. to even serve her with the papers. Um, she just acts as if this is a bother to her in her life, and she just wants to get back to her normal life, and I'll bet she does. Now that she's caused all this collateral damage in her wake, she just wants to move on to the next person, the next thing. Um, so it says they exploit others, they abuse or take advantage of others to achieve their goals and manipulate and lie. Okay, well, she manipulated certainly starting back in September on the 1st, whenever she Googled Shannan Watts for the first time. Um, and she did not stop until Shannan was dead, and the kids too. Um, she got them to move out of her way, one way or another. Now, whether she did this by manipulation and really just mind screwing him, I don't know another word to use. I mean, I hate to use that word, but honestly, it's kind of like what it is. It's like mind manipulation or mind control almost, especially because he was a weaker person, and it's easier to do that on a weaker person. Um, and she just used a lot of different manipulation. For instance, um, whenever he left and she sent the video of having a meltdown, she was playing the victim. She probably said all kind of things like she was, traumatized as a child, which she probably was. I mean, she probably grew up in something like this, but um, especially to have all them different kind of personalities, the way she acted, but the way that she would like reel him in and then throw him back out, reel him in and then throw him back out. And that's just typical because it's a way of wearing him out. It's kind of like whenever he left, she was like, fine, and don't come back then, the day he left, because his wife was calling because at July 4th, he said that he was at her house. He woke up at her house, right? And then when his wife kept calling, he just felt the need. He needed to leave because he didn't want his wife to find out. And then that's when she realized, like I said, that she was going to be second. And she flipped out. And that was manipulation. That was her playing the victim. That was the beginning of the reeling in with him and his tugging on his heartstrings. And basically, he was almost like a robot. It's like, some people can only form attachments, like one person at a time. And like, maybe the reason he was such a bad liar is he actually had a conscience before her. And when he is not possessed, that he may have a conscience. Maybe he does feel guilty. Maybe, who knows what goes on in his head. Only God knows that, and him. Maybe he don't even know. But she also, something to do with the Rockies game. I can't remember what it was, but does anybody remember her saying something about she had some dates that she had made with eHarmony, and I think it was supposedly the night that he had been invited to go to a game with somebody that worked with him, and then he ended up not going to the game, and I don't remember, but he ended up taking her out to dinner, and I think that was the night they went to that Lazy Dog place, and I don't know, I think the night the credit card was used, and then Shanann found out about it. I'm not sure of the timeline on that. I have my timeline written down here, but I'm just trying to kind of skip some of this stuff because I don't want to repeat it. But she basically was just a liar and a manipulator, and honestly, it says that they're totally void of empathy to seduce or control their victim. And like I said, I really believe that she controlled him with sex. I think that she used sex to control him because, for one, his wife left, and So they were no longer able to be intimate during that time. That was weird. Um, and just the timing of that was weird, that all this just happened to start up right then after she had researched it for a year. It's just all weird. And also the fact that Shanann looked up on the ninth, I believe. I'm not sure when it was. I'll have to look. Um, she looked up her old house like twice on Google. Shanann did. Or from her computer, somebody did. Her old house back in North Carolina. Now, this is around the time I think that she found out she was pregnant, or she was trying to get pregnant. And I just wonder if maybe she was even thinking, oh my gosh, with a third baby, I'm going to need my parents' help. Maybe we need to move back to North Carolina. And I'm just wondering if maybe, she was thinking that. And that's even why she was talking about, I don't know. She did have a lot of friends in Colorado, and I know that she had met a lot of friends that she felt like was her family, including the lady that helped keep this case from going any forward and possibly them getting away with this. Because I'm just going to say my theory at this point, and I could be way off base, um, because it's one or the other. Because I truly do not believe that she couldn't have known, not with the evidence. Um, like I said, if I were in that situation and I were to find out that a man was married and had children and a pregnant wife, I would be quick to call the police and tell them, oh my gosh, this man that I've been seeing, his wife is missing, and there are children that are missing, and, you know, whatever, I guess she was embarrassed because she kept the relationship up, but who cares? Like, seriously, if like, I thought that somebody had the capability of murdering somebody. Like, I wouldn't want them in my life anyway, and if they were in my life and their wife went missing, I would certainly not wanna be his next victim. So, that's interesting, that she wouldn't worry about that, like, could have been her, unless she was involved somehow or manipulated somehow. And this is my reasoning of the manipulation thing. I go back to the Manson trial. I'm not a Manson fan. He stayed where he should have stayed because I don't think he was able to function in society. I think it would have been a matter of time before he was in there for whatever reasons. He didn't want him to let him out to start with. However, that being said, he didn't kill Sharon Tate or anybody in that property. Um, he didn't kill anybody at the next property. I mean, truly, the most that happened was manipulation. Okay. So, why did he die in prison? His entire life was spent in prison, just about. The people who actually killed the people got out, but the person who manipulated or mind bended the other people to do the crimes actually spent their entire life in jail. And I'm just curious why and what is the difference here? Because obviously she played a part heavily in his reasoning for annihilating his family. And I just wonder when she talked about she could give him a son, okay? When she talked about the fact that, and I just wonder if that's why Chris wasn't as excited when they were at the ultrasound, when his wife said she grabbed his hand and he didn't grab it back. And I just wonder if that is why, he wasn't as excited about a boy, because that's what he wanted so much. Was somebody else pregnant? Did they lie then, or did they lie and say they were pregnant? Did they lie and say they had already found out they had a boy? There is a blood test you can take very early in pregnancy, I think, and you can find out if it's a boy or girl. So, who knows? I mean, they had an awful lot of sex, obviously, and I don't know if she got pregnant or not, but if you remember in especially the one with her father, Um, her and her father both really made a big deal about how sick she was and how sick she felt, and she hadn't been able to keep food down and this, that, and the other. And I just doubt very seriously that somebody that lacks empathy is just gonna just work theirself all up over that. Now, listen, she might have been worked up that she's gonna get caught or found out or arrested because she basically tried to come out and ask them that. Um, but I'm just saying that I don't think that she was that worried enough to make herself where she couldn't hold a bite to eat down. Okay, something else is going on. Now, could that make a reason for her to be in witness protection? Because if she was pregnant with his baby, could that possibly um make her a target because everybody in the world hates her, or not everybody in the world, but a lot of people in this world hate her or hate what she did, or can see her part in this. So, is there a reason to protect something other than her, something more innocent than her? Because she was not innocent. So that's just a thought, a food for thought. And if that is the case, and between the timeline of when supposedly they started their interesting relationship, if she got pregnant, supposedly their first time that they were intimate or whatever would have been back in July or June. What was it? See, I think July 4th was it the first time that I can't remember what day they said they were intimate. But anyway, she would have been finding out about the same time. She would have found out around the time of the murders if she had gotten pregnant at the beginning when they first started sleeping together. And that, again, is the oldest manipulation trick in the book to get a man to try to stay with you, is to tell him or to actually get pregnant. It's been used since the beginning of time, seriously. And then, when things didn't work out like they thought, now what? I don't know if she would have had the baby or just had an abortion at that point, because if she has no empathy, the only reason I would see that she would keep that baby is possibly because it could make money for her at some point. I don't know. I don't see that it would be because she would love or care for the child. I just don't see her as a mother type figure. I'm sorry if I have a wrong opinion and if I'm wrong about that. Please forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't see that in her. Now, that to me is a very good option. And I don't know if they would leave her in it because of the child, and that may be a reason that she would have stayed pregnant, possibly. Because if she is saying, hey, somebody might kill my child, or, people would threaten to kill her or her child because, a lot of people are crazy. I mean, they would think that's some kind of a crazy justice or something, instead of leaving it up to the Lord to handle. But there are crazy people out there, and so that could be a reason that she could be in witness protection. I will say that. And I mean, it did seem odd to me the way she really played up the way she was sick. I don't know. And then her talking about she could have his son, um, just put up the wedding dress. Okay. If it wasn't for that other thing that we were talking about and that armchair detective talked about, if it wasn't for that she was looking for the dress, was she thinking that, like, they would just pronounce Shannan dead and or missing and give him a quickie divorce and they could get married or whatever? I don't know. I mean, why would she be searching for 2 hours for a wedding dress when he's off supposedly trying to make things work with his wife in North Carolina? That makes absolutely no sense. That is insanity. I mean, even an insane person, I think, would have more of a grasp on reality than that. So that has to be some kind of a spiritual thing. That's just so abnormal. I mean, he is in North Carolina with his wife and 2 children at his family and her family's home. They're going on vacation. She's pregnant. and showing, very much showing. And she goes live constantly. You don't think that she got on there and searched to see what he was doing when he was in North Carolina? I mean, he could she could plainly see that she was pregnant. So, listen, a lie is a lie is a lie. When what's the old saying? What a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. I keep saying that when I think about this case because it just makes me think about like a black widow almost, that makes like a nest and then lures in her mate and then like mates with him and then like just devours him and consumes him. It's almost like that. And to the point that he is still protecting her from behind bars, literally. Like he thinks in his own head he's doing the right thing. And truly he's not, because whether it's just by suggestion that this happened, or by the fact that she was playing mind games with him to the point that it drove him complete insane, and some kind of drugs playing a part, possibly. Like he said that she would make these drinks or teas up for him. Who knows what was in that stuff? I know there's a lot of things that go on with some crazy religions that like can make you have serious, like crazy spiritual supposedly experiences like DMT, or that there's a plant in another country. And in fact, I think it was where she went on vacation for that yoga retreat or whatever she did, which is another thing. Yoga is a new age practice and goes along with some other things that she was into, I think. You have to be wary of that stuff. You do be very cautious of it. Look it up. Don't just jump into something and do it without looking in the history of it and what it's about. But anyway, I guess that's about all. This video's gone an hour, and I'm sorry it's gone so long, but there's just so much into this, and I haven't even covered all of what I wrote down. I mean, there's just so much, and I don't even know how deep this goes. I don't know if his parents ever knew her or knew about her, or I think it's weird that he wrote um, that supposed thing saying if I get injured, that my wife look at my wife or something, she would do it. I would never harm my wife or my child. I don't know. It was just something about that I didn't pay attention to it very much, but it struck me as odd that he would write that while he was down there, and he brought OxyContin with him supposedly to try to kill his wife, not kill her, supposedly to cause her to have a miscarriage. Um, well, but I mean, truthfully, he's probably trying to kill her, and it'd probably been easier to see if he would have killed her. Think about this for a minute. If he could have succeeded in killing her of an overdose of oxy or whatever in North Carolina, how easy would it have been? Because he could have played the grieving husband, okay? And that might have been why she was looking for wedding dresses, if you think about it, because it might not have been too long if it had worked out like this. If it would have worked, and maybe that's why he's not saying, he's saying he got the oxy from out of their own medicine. Why did he say that to start with? And why would he say he'd take to his grave where he got the oxy? I mean, that's so stupid. So like, and she went to some kind of rehab place. I don't know. They were like on that Venmo. She gave some money. I don't know, retreat, but it's like some kind of I don't know, some kind of I don't know if she had a drug problem or something. I don't know. But ayahuasca, I think that's the name of the other herb. But anyway, I don't it might not be it. It's a funny name like that. But anyway, it makes people see things that aren't there and have hallucinations. And anyway, is even LSD, they use that in Germany, you know what I'm saying, to like mind control people. So there's just a lot of different techniques, and depending on what she's involved in or her family's involved in, is to what she may or may not know, or how deep this goes. I mean, it could be just the surface level Jezebel who focused on a woman and got all tangled up in her life, and it she just wanted her gone. And then, like I said, while he's in North Carolina, she's taking 2 hours looking for wedding dresses, fantasizing that, basically that he can kill his wife down there, and then the baby's gone and the wife's gone, and then probably thinking that Shannan's parents would just go ahead and take the kids, because I'm sure that they would have. Um, and he could have played the grieving husband, like I said, and said, "Well, I just can't deal with the kids right now. Are you willing to take them?" And I do think possibly that could have been the plan, and that didn't work because it didn't work on her. It just made her groggy and sleep, and she didn't feel good. She was throwing up, and her brother helped her. He wouldn't even get up and help her. And so, therefore, and I think if you think about this, like, why wouldn't he get up and help her really? Except unless he was thinking, I gave her Oxycontin and too much of it. And like, if he's around her or whatever, and then it comes out that this affair happened, it can look like he may have given it to her whenever he could have made it look like she committed suicide because of all the trouble they were having. You know what I'm saying? And that she took the oxy herself. So, there's just so many theories that go along with this that it could have gone so many directions. And so, if that happens, he could have just flew back to Colorado. His wife's dead, but his kids are still alive, and he can visit them or whatever when he wants to. But he wouldn't have the responsibility of them, and he could have started this new life, and the house would have been all of his, and whatever equity that would have been in that house, they could have sold and bought another home. Do you see where I'm going with this? And that didn't work out. So then, um, I think, then it had to go to plan B. And unfortunately, the kids were along with that. And it's sick and disgusting and twisted. And I don't know how all that came to be. And I don't know if she had anything to do with that or causing that. And then he followed up with that and tried to cover it and just went along. I don't know. But my husband's home, so my family's going to be ready to eat. So I'm going to go. All right. Have a good night. Bye.